Hello everyone, I am Professor J. Salve from the Department of Botany, Pratap College, Amalner, Autonomous. Today we will understand the topic that is plant hairs, also known as a trichomes, their definition and different types of trichomes. So let's see the plant anatomy or trichomes. As we discussed, it is known as a plant hairs. The sentinel, the sentinel at the gate, form, function, and ecological strategy. Okay, then epidermal surface. Actually, the plants here they are the part of the epidermal tissue system. Epidermal tissue system is nothing but a protective layer that protect the plants from a different attack like herbivory, infection, etc. etc. So the trichomes are nothing but the outgrowth of the epidermal cells. Trichomes are the specialized epidermal outgrowth found on the aerial parts of the stem, leaf, flower, and fruits. They are critical component of the epidermal tissue system, exhibiting a immense diversity in the structure and form. They look like hairs. They are scale-like appendages and they can be unicellular, multicellular, can be living or dead at the maturity. Here is a typical structure of the trichomes. The section shows that there is a stoma, that means minute pores or opening, which is uppermost epidermis is covered by the cuticle, and this epidermis give rise to a outgrowth that is known as a trichomes, which is a look like a unicellular structure made up of two cells. Then trichomes, the concept is derived from the trichoma, meaning hair, and indeed the trichomes are hair-like outgrowth that emerge from the epidermis of the aerial parts. They are among the most morphologically diverse structure in the plant kingdom, varying enormously in the size, shape, density, and cellular composition depending on the species and environment. So, how the trichomes get originated? So, trichomes are basically epidermal appendages, epidermal outgrowth. They are specialized extension of the outermost layer of the leaf, stem, flower, and bract. They arise from the single epidermal cells or group of cells that differentiate and proliferate outward from the plant surface, forming a structure ranging from the simple unicellular hair to the elaborate multicellular glandular factories. Okay, the trichome have evolved independently numerous types across the flowering plant. The testament to their adaptive values, their remarkable diversity. Star substellate here in a mustard family plant, hooked barbs in the legumes, glistening resin glands in the cannabis, reflect the millions of years of co-evolution with insect pathogens and tracer. Co-evolution means both organisms evolve simultaneously. That's why they are known as a co-evolution, which is because of the interaction with the insect pathogens and environmental traces. Okay, so there are certain classification of the trichomes or characteristics. Unicellular or multicellular trichomes. Some trichomes are single elongated cells and other consist of dozens of cells arranged in a precise architecture that is known as a unicellular trichomes. Then glandular or non-glandular trichomes. Glandular trichome produces secretory metabolites and non-glandular trichomes serve as a structural loads only. Ubiquitous distribution found on the leaf, stem, flower, petal, sepal, bract. Approximately every plant part is covered by this particular hair that is known as a trichomes. Then there are species specific morphology. Some trichomes are uniquely found on a particular genus or species or family, depend on the different types. Okay, depend on the environmental condition, depend on the pathogen interaction, depend on the insect interaction. So trichome shape and density are highly species specific and heritable, making them a valuable taxonomic marker. Okay, I discussed star shaped hair found in a mustard family, hooked barbs in the legume family, and glistering grazing glands in the cannabis. Origin development control. Okay, actually the trichomes is developed from the one of the meristematic tissue that is known as a protodome. Protodome when get differentiated that give rise to the particularly epidermal cells. When epidermal cells produce some outgrowth and they become elongated, that obviously give rise our mature trichome. So from the epidermal initial cells up to the mature trichome, such a differentiation happen. So that's why our trichomes get developed. Trichome originated directly from the epidermal cells via unequal division and differentiation of the epidermal initials, while their development is genetically controlled by the species, or they are species specific, and it is influenced by the environmental factors. So I'll already we discussed in a previous slide that the epidermal outgrowth is actually decided by or influenced by the interaction with the insect, interaction with the environment, interaction with the pathogens. Okay, so they are nothing but a adaptive structure developed on the epidermis of the plants, which present on mostly on the aerial parts of the plants and generally absent on the root. The classification of the trichome, that is also known as the architecture of trichomes. Classification is based on the three primary morphological and functional vector. Trichome is classified into a cellular structure on the basis of cellularity, on the basis of structure, or on the basis of function. On the basis of cellular, they may be unicellular of the single cell, or they may be composed of the multiple cell, that is called as a multicellular trichomes. On the basis of structure, they are classified into three basic categories like a simple trichome, branched trichome, and stellate trichome. Okay. On the basis of function, they are again categorized into two basic types: non-glandular trichomes, also known as a mechanical trichome, having a mechanical functions, and glandular trichome, they are known as secretory trichome, having a secretory function. So these are the classes of the trichome that we are discussing in a upcoming slide. Then types of trichome: glandular vs non-glandular. Most of the fundamental distinction in a trichome biology separate the structure by function, those actively produce and secrete a chemical compound, and those that serve primarily as a physical or structural barrier. Both types are critical to the plant survival. That means without them, plants may face many problems. That's why they are known as a critical for the plant survivals, but they cooperate through the entirely different mechanism. Glandular trichome means they are living chemical laboratories embedded on the plant surfaces. They are synthesize, accumulate, and secrete a vast chemical, specialized metabolical chemicals or metabolite, including terpenoids, alkaloids, phenylpropanoids, flavonoids, and essential oil. The secretory cells within this structure contain a dense cytoplasm, abundant endoplasmic reticulum, and large plastid. All the hallmarks of the intense biosynthetic activity are present in the trichomes. The trichome typically consists of the basal cell, stalk, and variable stalk of the variable length, and secretory head where metabolic substances are stored. Okay, in a subcuticular space. Upon the rupture or contact with, they release their chemical uh, payload and deterring the herbivore, suffocating a pathogen, or attacking a pollinator. So because of the secretory nature, they are provide protection to the particular plant species. Okay, so they produce a terpenoid, they produce a alkaloid, they produce a essential oil. Okay, they found prominently in a cannabis, mint, tomato, and artemisia. Two major subtype of this granular trichomes are capitate type of trichomes and peltate type of trichomes. Okay, then non-glandular trichomes. Non-glandular trichome lack secretory capability but are no less important. This structure, which may be simple, which may be a branched, which may be a stellate, that is star-shaped, which may be a T-shaped, which may be a hooked, act as a physical shield or physical barrier that modify the immediate environment around the plant surface, obviously, by forming a dense layer over a leaf epidermis. They create a boundary layer of a steel layer that reduces the water evaporation, that is transpiration. So the transpiration also controlled by the or minimized by the trichomes, reflect the solar radiation and impedes the movement of small insect and fungal spores. So that's why the not only the granular trichome is important, but also the non-granular trichomes play the important role from the protection of the different microbes. Okay, from the solar radiation, etc. In many plant, drought adapted xerophytic plants like cacti, etc. Dense non-granular trichomes are essential for the survival adaptation. Their dead air-filled cells also scatter light, giving a many desert plant for their characteristic silvery white appearance. Pointed branched cell structure without secretory cells, that is known as non-granular trichomes, primarily involved in a physical protection on microclimate regulation, common in Arabidopsis thaliana, mulberry, and olive leaves. Okay, then unicellular specialist, single cell elongation, Cotton fiber is nothing but a unicellular trichomes having a economic importance composed of a single elongated cells. This can be living or a dead at maturity. Such a type of trichomes is known as unicellular trichomes. They are a single cell elongation. Okay, root hair, Pisum sativum, living or absorptive in a nature. Then multicellular trichomes. They are composed of multiple cell arranged in rows. This structure often greater structure integrity. A defining characteristic of many dicotyledon, for example, sunflower, that is Heliantha sunus, then mustard, brassica repa, etc., etc. Each cell is differentiated by the particular cross wall that is known as a septa. Okay, they are a septate multicellular trichomes. The multicellular trichomes also having a base that is known as a multicellular base, which is composed of a multiple cells rather than the elongated structure or arranged row-like structure. Some modification also observed in a trichomes, like a branched trichome, for example, verbascum, and the star-shaped structure, that is stellate hairs present in the hibiscus. Okay, so these are the identifying markers of the trichome. Means some plants, some families, some genera having a unique type of trichomes. That's why you can easily identify the different trichomes. We can identify the different plant species on the basis of trichome natures. Like a branched trichome, we can say that it is a Verbascum species. If we found that there is a stellate type of trichome, we can say that this is the species of the hibiscus, etc. Then structure of the glandular trichomes. Basically, the trichomes, glandular trichomes is made by the three parts. First one is a basal cell, then second one is a stalk, and third one is a the secretory head, that is the gland. Okay, the base cell which anchored with the epidermal layer, that means base cell is a component or part of the glandular trichome which attached towards the epidermis and penetrated to the epidermis underlying plant tissue. It serves as a gateway for the metabolic precursor, sugar, amino acid, signaling molecule, etc., and transport from mesophyll into the trichomes. In some plant species, the base is surrounded by the ring of the subsidiary cells that facilitate the metabolite flux. Okay, then second, stalk. The stalk is elevative structure, secretory head from the leaf surface, extending the reach to the chemical defense and maximizing a contact with the passing insect and pathogen. Stalk length varies from the species to species, maybe 40 to 50 micrometer. Maybe some trichomes reported that they are a 2 to 3 millimeter in a diameter. And then with the gland, that is one of the important part of the glandular trichome is the secretory head. The gland is a functional core of the trichomes, a cluster of highly specialized secretory cells that biosynthesize and store the metabolites in a subcuticular cavity. When this cavity become sufficiently pressurized with accumulated oil, resin, or secondary metabolite, the thin cuticle rupture upon the contact, releasing its chemical for the purpose of the defense. There is another structure that is known as a peltate trichome. Peltate trichome are a shorter stalk, broad, flat, disc-like multicellular head resembling a shield of umbrella. They are large surface area and secretory heads allows the accumulation of the substantial quantities of the essential oil. Peltate trichome present in the mentha, lavender, in many plants. Okay. The capillate trichomes are characterized by the long, slender stalk, topped at the rounded or globose secretory head. The head may be unicellular or multicellular. These are the dominant type of uh, glandular trichome present in the cannabis or Astraceae family, or maybe for example, Solanaceae family, or maybe uh, so many families are there which can produce a capillate type of trichomes. The chemical factories. Okay, the glandular trichome is alternatively known as a chemical factories. The glandular trichomes are specialized epidermal hairs capable for secreting oils, resin, mucilage, enzyme, and salt. Okay, so overall structure of the glandular trichome, attached part is known as a basal cell, and the elongated part which connect secretory head and basal part is known as a stalk, and uppermost part is known as a secretory head, which having a secretory nature and covered by the thin cuticle layer. Upon rupture, it can release their chemical, resin, mucilage, or enzymes or salt, whatever. Okay. Glandular trichome based on the morphology and storage capacity. This one is the first one image is a capillate trichome present in the osmium plant, that is tulsi, and peltate trichome present in the mentha or mint plants. Okay. Specialized modification. Some plants having a specialized modification that is known as a scale, which act as a armor while straightening hair as a function hypodermic needles. Okay, they are known as a scale. They having a toxic reservoir. When the this particular scales insert into any microbes or humans, after the insertion of the particular very thin calcified tip, they can break, and the toxin reservoir release it a secondary metabolite toxin into the particular organism or microbe. So that's why they are a toxic trichomes. So we can say that non-glandular trichome physical defenders. Actually, we already discussed that the non-glandular trichomes play the important role in a plant defense system. Okay. For example, non-glandular trichome represent one of the nature most elegant example of structural problem solving without producing a single molecule of a toxic chemistry. This simple cellular extension can be deter herbivore, regulate a microclimate, filter a radiation, even prevent a fungal colonization, all through the physical architecture alone. Then reducing the water loss. In a xerophytic condition, we can say that in a drought condition, water scarcity condition, plants non-glandular trichome covers the create a layer of trapped humid air directly above the stomata. This boundary layer effect dramatically reduces the vapor pressure gradient between the leaf interior and dry atmosphere, showing the transpiration, sorry, slowing the transpiration. That means they reduce the transpiration, they reduce the water loss through the transpiration. The plant like different plants are there in a desert like cacti in a desert environment on much of their water use efficiency to this mechanism. Then a second one is a UV and heat protection. Trichomes with a dead ear filled sac act as a reflective shield. Because of the trichomes, they reflect the UV rays that comes from the solar radiation, scattering incoming solar radiation before it reaches to the photosynthetic active mesophiles. Okay, this reduces the leaf temperature and protect the sensitive chloroplast and DNA from the UVB damage. Stellate star-shaped trichome in a Brassicaceae family and the silvery hairs on olive leaves are the classical example of this adaptation. Okay, studies have shown that the removing the trichomes from the such plants lead to the majorly increase in the oxidative stress under high light condition, and thereby increasing the rate of transpiration. Okay, then herbivore deterrence, that means protection from the herbivore. The physical architecture of the non-linear trichomes create a formidable barriers for a small arthropods. Hooked trichomes are found in the legumes of the Physalis. Physical impact impale or enlarge aphids, white flies, spider mites, preventing them from the reaching to the lip surface or laying in. A rapid, rigid, pointed trichomes increase the energy cost of walking insect and can puncture their delicate mouth parts in some species. So trichome density is directly inversely correlated with the aphid infestation levels. So relationship with major implication of the crop breedings. And last one, that is fungal and pathogen depends. Dense trichomes obviously cover the outer lip surface, moisture and microclimate conditions that fungal spores require germinations. By reducing the leaf wetness, duration and improving the air circulation and the surface, trichome create inhospitable in microenvironment for many fungal pathogen, fungal colonies, fungal spores. Additionally, the physical barrier prevent the spore to epidermal cells to contact and prerequisite for the penetration in many foliar diseases. Okay, so research in wheat has linked the hooked type of trichome density reduce the powdery mildew susceptibility. Okay, branch trichome in Arabidopsis thaliana are perhaps the most intensively studied trichomes in a plant biology. Each trichome single large cell with exactly 3 branches. Okay. Mechanical defense strategies. How the trichome defends from the herbivore or attack. Simple trichomes serve as a first line of defense against micro threat. Deterrence. Dense mat. It act as our. It look like our hair. That's why anything firstly interact with our hair. So that's why they are known as mechanical defense strategies. They reduce a mechanical injury. Then environmental adaptation, transpiration control, hair strap a boundary layer of a moisture. Thermal regulation, highly reflective hairs, bounce the sunlight as we discussed in a previous slide. Chemical defense pathway, active secretory head constitute or produce some secondary metabolites through the synthesis from the biosynthesis of the metabolites, then accumulation in a subcuticular storage and rupture upon the interaction with the trichomes, release a toxin or oil or secondary metabolites that are harmful to us, even though for the bacteria, even though for the certain microbes, even for the nematodes, etc. The root hairs that is also known as trichomes, which provide a maximum area for the absorption of the water. Then, what is the significance of the trichomes in a taxonomy? Taxonomy is nothing but identification, classification, and nomenclature of the plants on the basis of their overall morphological character, anatomical character, etc. The trichome structure is genetically controlled and serve as a reliable fingerprint for the species identification. For example, star-shaped structure, stellate hair present, stellate type of trichome present in the family Malvaceae, that is hibiscus. Capitate type of trichome present in the Lamiaceae family, that is mint. Astraceae having a typical structure, T-shaped trichomes found in Astraceae family, that is Artemisia, and Urticaceae family having uh, Utica dioica plants having a scale-like trichomes present in a Urticaceae family, that is natal. From botany to industry, one thing happen is there. We can start the startup with the knowledge of the botany toward the industry. Trichome drive a major economic sector from textile to the pharmaceutical. For example, obviously, cotton is nothing but our trichomes, okay, unicellular trichomes, which will helpful in a textile industry. We can wear clothes because of the gossypium, that is our cotton. Then plants are some species having a unique chemical composition present in the trichomes. For example, mentha having a unique composition, so we can use it in a drug discovery, drug formation under the branch of the pharmacognosy. Then forensic identification, okay, which type of plants present in a particular criminal scenes. So we can also identify the different type of trichomes and relate with the particular incidents. Then ecological adaptations, xerophytic plants, okay, the xerophytic plants having a different xeric condition, the trichomes are a primary adaptation for survival in a xeric condition because they can dense layer of the trichomes reduce the water loss and heat stress. So that's why in a particular xeric condition or a xerophytic condition, we can we can come over from the such a situation. The evolutionary advantage, we can study the evolution. Trichomes are not the merely passive appendages but active tools for the survival and defense absorption. The study is essential for taxonomy, ecology, and applied plant sciences. Okay, for the purpose of the survival, for the purpose of the protection, and for the purpose of the adaptation. So these are the three main functions played by the trichomes. Function of the trichomes. There are basically different function of the trichomes, like defense against insect and herbivore. The trichomes are deeply physical and chemical defense strategies. Obviously, they protect us from the different insect and herbivore attack. Then transpiration and thermal regulation. As we know that the dense layer of the trichomes obviously reduce the water loss and also protect us from heat stress because of they are having a reflective nature. Then chemical secretion and resin production. Secondary metabolite which can be stored in a particular secretory head of the trichomes. For example, cannabis glandular trichomes synthesize a cannabinoids acid, sorry, not acid, and a complex terpenes profile, okay, entirely within the secretory cells. Okay, then pollination and seed dispersal. uh, for the purpose of the pollination, trichomes which also having attractive natures, because of that attractive natures, some pollinator get attracted towards them, and that's why the pollination happen. Then carnivory, trapping and digestion. In a carnivorous plant, trichomes have been co-opted for the extraordinary function, prey capture and digestion. Drosera sendo tentacles are stalked endotrichum that produce a blistering, extremely viscous mucilage attractive to the insect. Upon the contact of the insect, attached insect become mire and surrounding the tentacles bend toward the different growth and digestive enzymes kill the particular type of insect. Why the trichome matters? Because they help us for the plant survival. They also useful in the pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals. They also helpful for the crop protection and breeding methodology. They also helpful for biomimetics and material science. Okay. Some of the unique example of the trichomes in nature. Cannabis sativa, the resin factory. Cannabis sativa produces three morphologically distinct type of granular trichomes: bulbous, capitate sessile, and capitate stalk. These three structure contain a different type of a secondary metabolite TSC, CBD, and CBG. Then utrica dioica, the chemical injector. Okay, the needle-like structure, which having a histamine, acetylcholine, serotonin, or formic acid directly into the skin of animal and pushes against him. That's why the inflammatory activity can be started in a particular organism. That's why they are known as the chemical injector. They provide injury to the animals. Okay. Then Drosera, the living flytrapper. Drosera tentacles are made by the sundew leaves are made by the stalk-like endotrichum. That's why the different insect or microbes attracted toward the Drosera plants, and upon the attaching toward this nectar is this insect lands and become trapped and mechanically signals trigger the neighboring anchoring tentacle to bend toward the prey. And so this Drosera plant releases certain kinds of enzyme like protease, esterase, photosynthesis, phosphatase, and ribonuclease, and that directly digest the entire insect and harvest their different nutrients. Okay, so this is about the trichomes. So thank you everyone.